All right. How's everybody doing? It is yours truly, Jason, with the Tactical Reporter. I know I've been away for 2 weeks. If you follow me on my other platforms, you will know that I said I was going to take a break from my videos because I had actually received contact from somebody that is very high in Raleigh with the North Carolina Department of Adult Corrections. Part of that contact was that I agreed I was going to hold off on posting some videos to give them time to look into some things and make a response. Now, since then, I have found out that I have a huge fan that works for NCDAC. I used to work with this individual, but I found out that he's been upset. He's been looking at my page daily, my YouTube page, wondering where my next video is. So let me show you who I'm talking about. This guy right here, his name is Jeffery Ivey. Jeffery Ivey. All right, so I found out that he is such a big fan of my page because he was at in-service or recert, depending on where you're at. You call it in-service or recert, where you go once a year. You go a week of training to recertify in firearms and CRDT and baton, CPR, things like that. Well, he was at in-service yesterday, and I was his topic. He even come up with a slogan about me. Let me see if I can remember what it was. I can't. I'll think of it before the video's over. But anyway, I was the topic of him, of how he was looking for my videos, and he said that things must not be going the way that I thought they would go because I hadn't posted. Well, if he truly followed me on my other platforms, he would have saw that I said I was going to hold off on posting my videos because of the contact that I had with somebody in Raleigh. But he wanted to make me the topic of discussion and another investigation that's going on. Now here he is. He is supposed to be a supervisor. Okay, you see that rank on his shirt there, lieutenant. I think he's still a lieutenant. But he's supposed to be a supervisor. All right. So as a supervisor, you know not to be discussing, whether you're involved in it or not, investigations that's ongoing. Now, mind how they classify it may be an ongoing investigation, because mine is leaning more towards going to court on my side. But I was also told that he was talking about another investigation involving an officer. So here he is, supposed to be a supervisor, discussing an investigation that, from what I heard, is ongoing with an officer, and discussing things in my case. Now, Jeffery Ivey had nothing to do with my case. Nothing. That's why you have not heard me talk about it. My page is not a snitch page or all of that. Now, if it pertains to my case, then yes, I'm going to talk about it. Like when I talked about Spielman, that was part of my case. That was part of, dealing with, worked up towards what happened to me. Now, Jeffery Ivey wanted to elaborate on things that he has no knowledge of. One, he was telling the class. Now, let me say this. In that class, you would be surprised at how much contact I got afterwards. It wasn't one person. It wasn't two people. Of people that contacted me and said they were disgusted at the way a lieutenant or a supervisor was acting. They used the word supervisor. Now, I do know that these people told me that they were going to contact Raleigh because he was discussing open investigations. They offered to write statements for me where he was slandering my name and attacking my character. And I haven't heard it, but I've also heard that there's possibly a recording of what he was saying in the class. Now, if I'm able to get that recording, we'll share it, you know, if needed. But NCDAC, what kind of supervisors do you have? Here's a man that is supposed to be able to lead a shift, run the facility in the absence of the associate warden or the warden, and he is at in service discussing open investigations. Now, was there an issue with Ivy before I left? Things that I had to correct him on? Yes. And we'll talk about those. But Mr. Ivy here wanted to go on and tell the class that I had stolen a state drone and I was using it to drop contraband into the facility. Okay? I've been gone almost a year, Mr. Ivy. If I had stolen a state drone, the SBI would have been knocking at my door asking for it back. So I have not stolen a state drone. So you need to correct yourself. Also, Mr. Ivy wanted to tell him, with the drone, Mr. Ivy, one thing that you got to realize is the prison drones were classified as law enforcement drones. So anytime those drones were in the air, it was known about. And the other thing that you need to realize is, yes, I started the drone team, was a founding member, but for the last year that I was there, I did not have a drone. I was just an advisor to the team. And the original drone that we had couldn't handle a payload. And a payload is it toting something. So you need to get your facts straight before you slander somebody's name, Mr. Ivy. So now I'll go ahead and tell you you're going to be added into this for slandering my name in a class full of people. The Nicholson effect, that's what you called it. Yes, I knew I'd think of it. You were telling the class this is all because of the Nicholson effect. The Nicholson effect. So, but you need to get your stuff straight, Mr. Ivy. And there's an officer there that used to be on the drone team. I found out he come off. They can tell you he was on the drone team and didn't have access to a drone. Matter of fact, Mr. Jacobs brought somebody in. They didn't want me to have nothing to do with it to take over the drone team, which is fine. I mean, I never envisioned that we would be starting a drone team, but we did. But it shows you that, Mr. Jacobs didn't want me having nothing to do with it. That he was against me. But we didn't have access to a state drone. And I don't even own an operational drone. Never have. But you want to tell a class that I stole a state drone and was using it to drop contraband into the facility. That's a lie, Mr. Ivy. Jeffrey. I mean, I know you're a wannabe Hell's Angel or a Mongol or whatever it is, but that's not going to protect you from this. You blatantly lied. And there are several people in the class that is willing to go before Raleigh, go before an investigator to what you said in class. And I don't think they all just got together and made this up. So you're a supervisor discussing things. One, you're not even involved in the situation with me. I had never brought you up, so I don't know why you're bringing me up. I mean, I know that you didn't want me promoted. You were bragging about that. You were glad that I didn't end up getting the promotion. We'll talk about why, like I said, because I had corrected you on a few things. Same thing as Barnes. Barnes didn't want me promoted. So now it makes me wonder, am I getting closer to who was really involved in wanting me gone? Were you one of them? You know, it seems like now that you could be part of the crew that wanted me gone. I mean, I don't understand, other than correcting you by policy what I'd done to upset you. See, Mr. Ivy here is one, when they come out with this stuff called Waco, okay, they gave specific rules that you had to work over in a correctional officer's position. Most of, staff done it through transportation. Well, Mr. Ivy here had just become an instructor and wanted to put his instructor time down as Waco time. Well, me and Miss Small both told him that that did not qualify for Waco. And he got mad about it that, I was correcting him, telling him he could not do that because that was not Waco time. And he didn't like it. He said, well, other facilities are doing it. And, I told him, I said, well, we can't help what other facilities are doing. All I'm doing is preparing, because here I am knowing that I was about to be promoted. Okay, I've already been through an incident where people lied on their timesheets, I've mentioned in other videos, and I had to go back through everybody's timesheet, compare it to the trips that they took, and make corrections. Some people ended up owing the state money. Their check was shorter the next month than what they thought it should be. So I didn't want no big investigation because I knew if it happened again, that it wouldn't be me checking timesheets. It would be somebody from the region or Raleigh coming down wanting to know what we had going on where people were lying on their timesheets. So Mr. Ivy here, guy right here, didn't agree with that. And I explained to him, well, it's just the way it is. They set guidelines to where lieutenants and captains could get a little overtime, but we had to earn the time within those guidelines. All right. The other thing that I corrected him on was, he was helping on transportation, earning Waco time. Well, whoever he rode with did all the work in the evening whenever they come back. So let's just say Mr. Ivy and Sergeant A took a trip. From getting there and preparing to bringing the offender back into the Sally Port took 4 hours. All right. Mr. Ivy would make sure that Jeffrey Ivey here, would make sure that he was the one driving at the end of the day. Because guess what? Whoever's driving has to drive into Sally Port, go back and park the vehicle, and they should come back in to see if their partner needed any help. But what Jeffrey Ivey would do, and we corrected him on this on many a times, is he wouldn't put 4 hours on his timesheet. He'd back out to Sally Port and you never see him again. Okay? And if you go and check gate log, you could probably verify that he's still been doing it for the past year that I've been gone. All right? So his partner may stay in there and get the offender unrestrained, take the offender to medical if they're coming back from a medical trip to be checked and released back to the yard, take the inmate records back to the records room, and at the end, that partner may have, for the trip purposes, may have earned another hour. So what Jeffrey Ivey would do was whatever his partner put on his timesheet, just say his partner put 5 hours because of all the extra work that he done, Jeffrey Ivey would put the same thing and he'd be in his truck gone or on his motorcycle headed to the beach, which is not right. So he was getting paid for an extra hour or so that he didn't even earn. He got upset with me about that. See, this is the type of person that a lot of people at Columbus did not like him. I mean, people had reported that he'd make racist comments to him. I mean, he called a couple officers the N-word. It was reported. Nothing happened to him. I mean, I don't know what he has on people to hold over people's heads, but nothing happened to him. And he's the type, and he let it known, he could not stand Captain Vargas. That was his captain when he started out. So we had an inmate that went into cardiac arrest, and he failed to follow instructions from the captain. He went and got on the computer, and you know who got in trouble for the emergency policy not being followed correctly? The captain, because she was the highest ranking person there. What happened to the lieutenant? Nothing. I mean, he failed to follow her orders. You know, it was reported by the captain and several other people that he said he wouldn't help him. This is the type of person that wants to sit in class and talk about things that he don't know nothing about, but he's scared to make rounds at the facility. He tell the sergeant, "Hey, write me down when you go around." No, he sat in the office all day, and you try to get him up to get him to do something on Facebook Marketplace. He's got to leave in a hurry to go buy a swinging chair that he's always wanted, or motorcycle parts. Or better yet, he didn't even stay a whole shift because the relief when he got moved to day shift after he got into it with Captain Vigas and they moved him. He would leave at 4:40 to avoid Captain Vigas, unless he was the only OIC there. And she had no choice he had no choice but to be relieved by her. But he would leave his post early to avoid Captain Vigas. He just didn't want to work for a woman. You know, he made that clear. And all it was is Captain Vigas stayed on his tail. She made him do what he was supposed to. She'd make him get out of that office and go to them rounds. I can remember a day that his day shift captain that he had, and his day shift captain, Captain Mitchell, was not a controversial person. It's actually Mr. Mitchell now. He got promoted to associate warden, the position that I was supposed to be going to. But we had a audit getting ready to happen. He was assigned, Ivy here was assigned Hickory and Maple dorms. He refused to go on the yard and check his dorms to make sure they were right. But instead of having a confrontation, you know what Captain Mitchell, Mr. Mitchell now did? He went and checked them for him. See, Ivy's the type that he wants to be in the spotlight, but he didn't want to do no work. But he wants to insert himself into something that did not involve him. Not once have I brought Ivy up for him to be cracking jokes at in service in front of a class full of people, talking about, oh, that's the Nicholson effect. Nicholson stole a drone and he's doing this. Obviously, you don't know how drones work, Mr. Ivy, as I've already explained. And if I would have stolen a drone, the SBI or local law enforcement would have been at my house to confiscate it back, and I would have been charged with stealing a drone. Stealing state property. But guess what? That is a lie that you made up. Like I said, for the last year of me having any relevance to the drone team, Columbus didn't even have access to a drone. If we done a drone drill, we had to call and get one from the person that Mr. Jacobs wanted to take over the team, because we didn't even have one. Officer Lane was on the drone team and didn't even have access to a drone. Why do you think he come off? Because Columbus was backstabbed, one, to get our drone that the facility actually bought to give to another region, and then we have access to no drone. So make sure you get your stories right, Mr. Ivy, because I've got a lot more that I can tell on you. And my page is not about snitching, but you brought me up and you said you missed my videos, so I figured I would make a video for you, because it's crazy. Like I said, you hadn't been mentioning nothing that I've done. Nothing. But you want to talk about me and brag that I didn't get promoted, and you're glad that I didn't get promoted. You didn't want me to be promoted. Just because I was going to make you do your job. I don't understand. But Jeffery Ivey, like I said, I've never done nothing to you other than try to help you. When you wanted to be an instructor, I tried to help you. Uh, Even when you come back saying, no, it's this way now, and I'd been an instructor for 16 years, and you're trying to tell me how to do it, I listen. But I go by the lesson plan is what I went by, not what you come back and said. Uh, Hey, I'm going to say this, dude. I mean, I forgive you, but just don't be making stuff up about me and don't be slandering me. And I mean, like I said, I'm telling you, I mean, your name's added to my case now because you slandered my name. And it's not something I'm making up. Like I said, I've got several people that contacted me after they got out of class yesterday to tell me what happened. And all I've been doing for the last year is gathering evidence, additional evidence to what I had to clear my name and show that there was somebody, you know, that wanted me gone. And you made the comment until I release the names of the higher ups, Raleigh's not going to do nothing. So that makes me feel like you know something also. Um, you know who was involved with it. That's what was told to me in the class. Like I said, I'm hearing that there's a recording. So if I get a hold of that recording, uh, it'll blow your little thing out the water. You know, you cannot deny that you didn't slander my name yesterday. Uh, and here's the thing. Um, Everything that you were saying yesterday, if I was guilty of it, Raleigh would have done something by now. But they got what they wanted. Whoever it was got what they wanted. They wanted me gone. They wanted me to resign. Because they knew if they tried to charge me with something, it wouldn't stand up in court. Um, because in order for it to stand up in court, and I know there's a lot of innocent people that's been convicted, but in my case, I can prove now. It's took me a year to get certain items, but now I can prove one that I didn't do nothing. Two, uh, the inmates were made to lie, and I can prove that. So if anybody in Raleigh's watching, I know y'all kind of watch my YouTubes. Um, I can prove that your now chief of investigations forced the inmates to change their statements. I can prove it. So, um, I know that they wrote the now chief a statement and the other investigator Cotton, and they told them that's not what they wanted, that they needed to be this. So, I'm giving Raleigh an opportunity because my next step is not going to be good. I mean, it's going news wide. And now, Jeffery Ivey, you've added yourself to it. So, talking about an open investigation, you're supposed to know better, dude. Even if mine's not considered an open investigation, you're talking about. I don't know what this other investigation is, but I'm being told that it is an investigation, and you were talking about it, uh, something with an officer. So you've set yourself up, dude. Like I said, slandering and attacking my character. Last time I checked in the United States of America, you're innocent until proven guilty. And I'm innocent. If they could prove me guilty of something, they would have already tried. But like I said, it's took me a year. This month here, next week, next Tuesday will be a year that this whole thing began with them coming after me. Now it's been over a year since I started my investigation, but what into the staff I was looking into. But now you've been added to my list, bud, because like I said, um, you've made the comment that you're glad I didn't get promoted. You didn't want me to be promoted, so it makes me think that you were part of the crew that was working to get me gone. Could I be wrong? Yes. I mean, but now it's going to cause me to look deeper into you. But whoever watches this, I'd check Ivy's timesheets records, because I'm sure you'll find some discrepancies of if he's running trips, 4 hour trip, and he's putting 6, 8 hours down. Yeah, I know he was doing it then because he got mad at me about that. Oh, another thing he got mad at me about is I called him out because he said it was reported to us that he said he was teaching CRDT one day. Well, staff that from our facility come back and said Ivy wasn't there. So at that time, Mr. Paul was over in-service training for the college. I called him and asked him to check the OSDTs. Had he seen Ivy that day? He said no. He said, matter of fact, if he'd have showed up, we'd have probably sent him away because we had enough instructors. So I said, well, can you just check the OSDTs and see if he was there that day? Checked them, and guess what? No Ivy. Well, what was on his timesheet? What did he tell his captain? That he taught CRDT for 10 hours at Southeastern. So, I don't know. Something's up with you, dude, but now you're on my radar like I said you wouldn't because you didn't have nothing. I didn't think you had anything to do with my case, but now I'm starting to lean that you do. So I'll be digging more into you, and I'll add you to my videos since you love them so much. But as always, to my followers, I pray that God blesses you. Have a good day.